Welcome to She Knows Arsenal. My name is Jessica. I'm your host, and we're in fourth place. Yeah, no, just kidding. But this is our player ratings. Arsenal 2, West Ham 0. Can't say I saw that happening or I didn't see it. I did not see that win. I did not see that performance, but hey, I'll take it. I will take it. What a great day to be an Arsenal fan. I think enjoy it. We deserve to enjoy it. There will be a lot of, well, are you guys going to keep the spot? Are you guys, da, 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 da? Spurs and United, they have games in hand. I don't want to hear it right now. I just want to enjoy our win. That's it. Because for me, the performance really went with that scoreline. And I have not seen us perform that well. This was by far our best performance this season. One of our best performances under Mikel Arteta was a good response to all of the Aubameyang stuff that did not look like a team that was upset with the decision, didn't look like a team that was affected by stripping Aubameyang of the captaincy, and a team that looked like they were fully behind the manager, which is exactly what I was looking for. And I seen a lot of confidence and just energy from players that I haven't seen yet. We saw glimpses and pieces of it over the last couple of weeks, but it hasn't quite come together. And today, it just did. It just came together. When you look at the performance from Gabriel Martinelli to Bukayo Saka to Martin Odegaard, I'm looking at this group of these three, and then when you add Emile Smith-Rowe in there, I'm thinking to myself, wow, we have something special brewing here. And then you look at the back line and you're like, what was that? They completely pocketed Mikel Antonio. Bowen didn't have a sniff. It was such a good performance. And for me, one of the biggest differences in this performance than the last couple was that the senior players finally showed up. They finally showed up. Uh, whether it was Lacazette, Thomas Partey, or Granit Xhaka, they were there and there to be counted, and it made a huge, huge, huge difference. And so I couldn't be happier. Let's just enjoy it. Let's just enjoy it. I think it's another game that just shows you that, okay, this is what we're working with, but just think if we added this, just think if we added this, just think if we were to able to improve just by this much, and how good could this team potentially be? These players really haven't, this is their first season really playing with each other. It's damn near a brand new team full of young kids, and so that performance for me was a glimpse into what we're building. And so for me, regardless of kind of how you feel about Mikel Arteta, where you are with him, what we have in terms of the players is quite special. And I think it was clear to see today. So we're going to go ahead and go through our player ratings, but there's about 100 of you guys watching the video. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. How does it feel to be in that fourth spot? We all know the caveats of teams having games in hand, but ultimately, how do you feel about if at the beginning of the season, I don't think many people would have said that we had an opportunity to really fight for that fourth spot. And I just want to see us fight to the end for it. Even if we fall backwards a little bit, like I just feel like this is a good place to be halfway through the season. Still a long way to go. Still need to be a little bit cautious about saying like, yeah, we're going to be in Champions League, but we are right there. We are right there. So I'm very, very excited about it. Nashville says, I'm not positive. I'm positive yet. Just on quarantine protocols, feeling good though. Thanks. Also, yeah, Lacazette was awesome. Yeah, and also it's just like I get that there's still a long way to go, and I think sealing this would feel, and we could talk about this a little bit later on in the week, but going to Leeds and getting that win is so important now to seal this, because they've showed us something. We know that they can be intense. We know that they can press. We know that they can play from minute 1 to minute 90. We know that they can match the intensity of a really, really good team, shut them down, be defensively solid, and score goals. And so we need to see that, moving forward. But for today, let's just freaking enjoy it. But let's go ahead and start. We'll start off in the back with Ramsdale. I thought He was good, and he had one really good save where I think was it when Odegaard gave the ball away and did that square pass to Xhaka, and then it got to one of their players and they had a really good shot and Ramsdale made a save. That's the thing about that's why it's important to have a really good goalkeeper. You would think that teams that are more dominant, and I'm not saying we're the most dominant team, but being a team that's wanting to push up the table, I think that having a goalkeeper that when we're in possession, when we're dominant, can be switched on enough and make world class saves to save our bacon is very important. So for me, what Ramsdale gives us in terms of his distribution is backed up by the his ability to be somebody that I could see playing for a top four club because the top four teams have the best goalkeepers, and you would think that they don't need it because they'll face that many shots. So why would you need a great goalkeeper? Well, it's because sometimes you need somebody to make a world-class save, And so for me, seeing that he wasn't necessarily super involved and he wasn't getting battered, but he was still able to make that really good save, I think was really good. I think some of his distribution was hampered by some of the shaky back passes that were coming from Gabriel. I think it was Gabriel that made a couple of those that were a little bit shaky. I think Tomiyasu had one as well, but he handled them as good as he possibly could. So he got a clean sheet. He wasn't super involved, but he did have a really good save that had that went in, it would have been 1-1. I think I'm going to give him an 8.5. I think he was really, really good and nothing that we don't expect from him, but just another really good game from Ramsdale. I mean, that has been a very, very good signing, and I would say maybe the best so far. He's the one who hit the ground running the fastest, but he's definitely, I mean, gotta be our signing of the season. So yeah, let's move on to Tomiyasu, who I thought when I was watching the first half, I thought he's definitely gonna be my man of the match because I've watched him grow from game to game, and I know you guys have seen it too. Tomiyasu is getting more secure on the ball. I remember there was a lot of conversations when he first got here about what is his technical level here. He doesn't look like he has much in his locker, but he was going past the man. He was making the right decisions at the right time to either be conservative with his passes, one touch, two touch, keep it simple, great whip balls into the box, supporting Saka when he needed to, defensively sound, typical Tomiyasu performance, but going forward and in terms of his technical levels have gone up significantly since we first saw him. And so for me, I'm gonna give Tomiyasu an 8. I think great performance from him and he's just so solid and he's giving me real Sanya vibes and that's kind of what we need right now. I think there's one moment where the ball was hanging up in the air and he ran up and against two West Ham players he jumped up and headed the ball and won it for us, and it went to Saka, and I just thought, Bellerin doesn't give you that. Bellerin is not somebody who's going to be physical in the challenge, is going to go up against two West Ham players, win the ball out of the air. Like, I think we're underrating how important this right back signing has been for us because it's just been so seamless, but for me, Tomiyasu has to be at an 8. Not my man of the match. There was other players that ended up having better performances individually than him. But wow, I thought he was very, very good. So I'm gonna give him an 8. See what you guys are saying here. Let's see. Tony says Tomiyasu is slowly creeping up the pitch. He also has a great cross and switch. Yes, he does. Um, Lalitia says Tomiyasu will get even better. He will possibly be better than Sanya. It's high praise. I thought Sanya was so good, but yeah, he was a lot better. He's getting better. Oh, didn't mean to put that one up there. You guys know I'm like very, I don't know. I don't want to be too mean to Bellerin, but yeah. Nashville Gunner says, like Tommy, but if we signed a true DM, I would prefer someone who overlaps more. Saka needs more support. And that's kind of like the future evolution. I feel like at some point we will have a overlapping right back, maybe. I'm not convinced that Arteta wants an overlapping one. I think he might want somebody that is more of a midfielder rather than a center back. Those are it's very different. But I do like you envision that position changing and maybe Tomiyasu becoming a center back for us. But in the short term, I think he's exactly what we needed. He's such in stark contrast of Bellerin. Bellerin was not he wasn't really that secure on the ball. He rarely stayed in his position. He didn't always make the right decision. He was rarely cautious because he liked to jump out of his position and leave us exposed. And I think Tomiyasu does the exact opposite, which is the right thing. So yeah. Um yep. So Tomiyasu. Don't know what happened there. Anyways, so I have no idea what just happened there. I just disappeared. But yeah, Ben White. I was very worried about him, I can't lie. I really did think that he was going to have a torrid time with Antonio, but I thought him and Gabriel did a really good job of Gabriel going in behind, White going in front, and just kind of keeping him away from the ball. Um, he wasn't as influential on the ball as I maybe expected him to be, but I think he had a solid performance. And the most important thing for me today with Ben White was don't get killed by Antonio. Don't make any huge defensive errors. Please do defense first and then do the other stuff later. And that's essentially what he ended up doing. So for me, I thought Ben White was just fine. I don't think he was as good as Tomiyasu. So I'm just going to give him a 7. Part of the clean sheet, did an okay job. Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was good. Um, let's see. Let's see. Rohit says Antonio is still in Gabriel's pocket, probably fell out of it in the dressing room as Gabriel changed. Well, let's move on to Gabriel for a second. I thought he passed the test. This is his second Antonio test, and he passed the first one, and he passed this one as well. Antonio is not a great player in terms of his technical ability. He's not going to just dribble past you, but his strength alone is something that can be very, very difficult to defend against. And I thought Gabriel played it brilliantly. I thought he picked the ball off of him. He made the game almost impossible for him. Good in the air. He was so solid and so good. And I just feel for me, this season, Gabriel's been our best player. I think I love Ramsdale, and I think that he's been a good he's just somebody that I think because Ramsdale just came in, I just want to give it a little bit more time. But Gabriel's improvement, I mean, he may even be most improved player because he was not this player last season. I thought that he would become this, but now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, what have we stumbled upon here? 27 million from Lille. People were not that excited about it because he wasn't Saliba, but he pocketed Antonio today. He's one of the most difficult strikers to play against. And so for me, Gabriel has some dodgy moments on the ball in terms of passing the ball back to Ramsdale. I think he could have been a little bit more graceful with some of those passes back, but Ramsdale ended up dealing with them quite well. But I think in terms of taking care of the most important part of the job, which is defending, he was massive today. He was absolutely massive. And so for me, I'm going to give Gabriel an 8. I think he was just right there with Tomiyasu, with really taking care of things back there, even maybe an 8.5. I don't know what to say. I mean, he was really, really good, so I'm going to give Gabriel an 8.5. What am I doing wrong now? Jess, we need to start learning. We need to start learning Portuguese. Yeah, I know. That's something I do want to learn. Just FYI, I do want to learn Portuguese. I think it's a pretty language. Faz said, absolute captain's performance from Lacazette. Never seen Saka so frightening on offensive. We will get there. Kieran Tierney. I thought he showed pieces of this against Southampton, but again, it's Southampton, so it's kind of like, is it really that good? But Tierney's kind of showing again why he is, for me, the number one left back that we have. Tavares was kind of like that, not to be crass or anything, but like Tavares is kind of like that fling, that hot chick that you've seen, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, like she's hot, I just might want to have like a little fling, and it's new and it's fun and it's exciting, but eventually you're kind of worried about, you're like, oh, but wifey can cook, and wifey can takes care of the kids, and wifey is reliable and also beautiful, maybe not as sexy, but definitely beautiful. And so for me, that's what I kind of feel like, it that's what Kieran Tierney is to me. So he is solid, and he may never give you that excitement that Tavares gives you because he's so bombastic. He goes up and down the sideline. He's so fast, and he can go in and out. I'm on the inside and the outside. But Kieran Tierney almost scored a goal today. His crossing was really, really good. Defensively, he was solid. He kept Bowen pretty much quiet, and so again, he may never be as exciting as Tavares, and that's not to say that Tavares didn't play well when he was in there, but there's a little bit of stability that Kieran Tierney gives you when he's on his game that you were not going to get from Tavares at the moment. So now I personally feel like that he had a really, really good performance, and I really wish he would have got the goal, but I'm going to give him an 8. I'm going to give him an 8. I think he was good. I think he was good, solid, cooking dinner at home. Let's go back to wifey. It's fine. Call Tavares when you need to have a little bit of fun, but Kieran Tierney's definitely wifey, and that's just what it is. Um, Lalitia says KT's decision making is better. He's doing more than just runs down the wing, better positional awareness, anticipation for second balls on the opposition half. I agree. Nashville Gooner says she's basically called KT a soccer mom with a nice ass. You said it, not me. Mohammed said Tavares is a wild card. Kieran Tierney is more of a classic fullback. Yeah, he is. He is like a fullback in like the traditional sense of the word, and the position. And Tavares to me is a little bit more of a wingback. And honestly, when Martinelli went down, that was the opportunity where I thought, ooh, maybe bring in Tavares and let him play off of the right-hand side. Maybe that would be a good option. We ended up bringing in Nketiah, and it was fine. But I thought maybe, that would have been a good option for Tavares to come in. But I think Tavares has been great. But I think Kieran Tierney just gives you a little bit of stability and maturity in that position that we kind of need. And that, for me, is the ideal back five for me until otherwise. So, yeah, 8 for Tierney, 8 for Gabriel, 7 for White, 8 for Tomiyasu, and 8.5 for Ramsdale. Let me know what you guys are thinking. You guys are calling him a booty call, not me. There's about 200 of you guys watching. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Next, let's move into midfield. The midfield. Before the game, I still think that that's our best midfield. I think it showed itself to be that today. There was 2 moments in particular where I was screaming at Thomas Partey. I was like, "Can you please release the ball?" And he just like he couldn't make the decision quick enough. And Xhaka had one of those as well. So I was like, gosh, why is they're so slow on the ball sometimes? But I thought for the most part, we knew that the biggest battle of the evening beyond Antonio versus Gabriel was going to be Souček and Rice versus Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey. And I thought our midfield was better. I did. I thought our midfield was better beyond some of the, the indecision from Granit and Thomas Partey. I thought Thomas did some of the things that we had been missing from him for a while, which was that decisive, like, boom, I'm going to go past the player and dribble forward and break lines, or I'm going to pass in between the lines and go ahead and make that pass. And so for me, I think that they did a really good job. I'm wondering if Jack is still trying to get up to speed. I think he was kind of slow releasing the ball sometimes, just in general play. But I think ultimately, when you look at it, it's our most balanced pivot at the moment. And that's not to be harsh on Sambi. I think Sambi has a huge future, but I think he was always a Thomas Partey backup. And so this is kind of what we're going to be looking at. So I want it to play well. I want it to look right. So for me, Xhaka and Thomas Party, although has a ceiling on it, I think it was good. I think it was good today. And so for me, I think the two of them as a pair, I'm going to give them a 7.5. I don't think they were, I think that there's still some levels to go up. They need to be a little bit quicker on the ball. Decision making sometimes wasn't the best. And oh gosh, can Granit Xhaka learn how to shoot? He had two opportunities inside the box. These aren't even outside of the box shots that are rarely scored. Like literally, he had two shots that either one of them should have been a goal. If you're going to get up that high, can you please put it in the back of the net? So as a pair, as a pivot, I'm going to give them a 7. I think they were good, and they balance each other out. So we don't have to go into we want another midfielder. Jack is this red card, la la la. They were fine. So I'm going to give them as a pair a 7. Tony says midfield had some good support from the rest of the team. Also, Xhaka at center mid, Xhaka at left back. Yeah, when that dropping into that left half space, it just doesn't work out all the time, and it leaves Thomas Partey exposed. So I like when we just play midfielders in midfield positions. Let's see. Sambi needs to play versus Leeds. I'm not sure if he will, but I hear what you're saying. Let's see. Nashville says the bar is set for us not to be tearing our hair out while we watch them. I mean, hello. I still was sitting there like, oh my goodness, like heart attack every single time something was happening or not happening. The amount of times I said, fucking pass, like it wasn't good. I still get so scared watching this team play. It's just crazy. But Odegaard, he's cooking, ain't he? He's cooking. I was like, oh, look at Odegaard. I mean, his little skills are coming out. I was so happy for him. But I thought he put him at the top end of the pitch or closer to the front beyond Lacazette, a captain like performance. I thought he was great in between the lines. I think he was better on the ball today than he was against Southampton, but his intentions were good against Southampton. He just wasn't like it wasn't coming off, but it was coming off today. His pressing was really good. His 1-2 passes, like you could see that the vision is coming back. You could see some of the rust is coming off. I've been saying for a while that although I think obviously over the summer I did think that Madison would have moved the needle a little bit more in the short term. What I liked, I thought Odegaard was being harshly criticized by some of the fan base because when you haven't played for a long time, he was playing day in and day out at Real Sociedad. Real Madrid decided to cut his loan short and bring him back into the team, but he didn't play for 3 or 4 months. And then he came to Arsenal after not playing for 3 or 4 months in a different league, rusty, and then got injured. But when I watched him play again for Real Sociedad, I thought to myself, I was like, the guy when he gets sharper, that rust will knock off, and we'll see what kind of player he is. Does he have limitations? Absolutely. He's not the fastest. He is quite one-footed, but he has that vision and that ability to play 1-2 touch really quickly and release pressure off of other people. And I just thought he was so good today. I mean, he did have to come off, and he did make a mistake that could have led to basically him erasing all of his good moments. But I think he put in, for me, a captain's like performance in that midfield and in the position that we really were just lacking a little bit of bravado or whatever that word is. Like, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of oomph, a little bit of, I'm going to take the ball and I'm going to make something happen. And he did that today. So for me, Martin Odegaard gets a 9. He could have got, if he would have scored a goal, I would have given him a 10. I just thought, and he came off at the right time as well. I thought that Arteta did the right thing by taking him off around the 65th minute or so, because the midfield was already looking a little bit leggy, and Xhaka was already kind of like losing a little bit of his stability. So taking Odegaard off at that time, I thought was perfect to keep him from is AFCON canceled? Are you guys serious? Is that real? Hold on, you guys. I need to check. Hold on, I'm checking. Don't lie to me. Don't have me checking this phone. Nah, you're lying to me. I haven't seen anything. So yeah, I think that Odegaard, had he had scored a goal, would have gotten a 10. I just was watching him play was a joy. And so yeah, really good. And I like that he leads the press. I really like that. And the combination of him and Lacazette, I thought has always been great. So yeah, I liked it. But see, Mr. Austin, I'm not a hater though. Like the thing is like I don't I don't if I don't I don't give ratings and analysis on things based on my own narrative, and I don't do it like that. So if I get something wrong, I get something wrong. And I never said that Odegaard was a bad player. I just felt like Madison would have moved the needle a lot quicker because I wasn't sure how fast it was going to take for Odegaard to become the player that I think he's going to be. And I just kind of wanted something a little bit more. I wanted somebody a little bit more experienced. But at the same time, if Odegaard plays well, that's good for the team, and that's all I care about. But I've always rated his talent. When he was at Real Sociedad, I was like, what do I have to sell? What do I have to give? Because this guy needs to come to the Emirates. And I'm just happy to have him here. So, for me, it's just he was great today. Greg Simon says, thought Odegaard finally played some slick passes between the lines. That's what I've been wanting. Um, Dublin says, wouldn't disagree with that. Nashville, you guys are talking to each other as usual. Lalitia says it's very close between Odegaard and Madison Jess. Has a higher ceiling and suits the team well in technical and mental aspects. And I agree with that. And, for me, if I'm wrong, but it's for the best of the team, cool. I'm wrong. Odegaard is a really, really good player, and he's getting better each game, which is what you want to see. So Odegaard gets a 9 for me. Now this is where it's gonna get really exciting because I thought all 3 players up front were absolutely unplayable today, and what I wanted to see was us take the game to that dodgy back line because I know a lot of people weren't saying it before the game, but that was not their first choice back line. I mean, Dawson, Diop, Sufal and Masuaku. So they didn't have really any of their first choices back there because Cresswell is injured. I think Ben Johnson is injured as well. So everybody, Agbana and Zuma. And so when somebody has a weakness, you have to try to exploit it. And I thought that it was pretty clear to me that Arteta said, please, every single time you get the ball, dribble at them because they're not very good. And I think Dawson is a shocking defender. I never thought he was very good. I know that he's good in the air, but other than that, I just felt if we could drive at this defense, we have something cooking. And where do you even want to start? Do you want to start at Bukayo Saka? I mean, before the game, when I was on Arsenal Vision live stream, we were talking about how he's been quietly getting better every single game, and his work. It's like his confidence is going up, and he's taking players on a lot more, and he's taking responsibility. And he didn't get a goal today, but he was instrumental in, I know, the second goal for sure. His pressing was really good. He was nipping the ball off of their back line. He was terrorizing Masuaku. Masuaku had such a bad game, and that was because Bukayo Saka had him on toast. I mean, he was unplayable today. And when you just continuously run at people, at some point they just say, you know what? I'm done. And that's when it kind of felt like with that back line. And again, what I like about Bukayo is that he makes the right decision almost every single time. When it's time to pass, he passes. When he takes it to the byline, he does that. When he cuts in, he does that. And his ability to keep the ball under pressure, I think, is a super skill that he has. And for somebody that's not necessarily that big either, when this boy gets his shooting boots, he's gonna be a terror. Like he's gonna be terrorizing backlines. He already does it as it is, as somewhat of a facilitator. But I think when he gets his shooting boots on, it's going to be a completely different game for Bukayo Saka in the league. So for me, I got to give him a 9. I got to give him a 9. I thought had he scored a goal, I would have probably given him a 10. I didn't think he did very much wrong. He really didn't. And that pressing and his intensity was so, so good. So Bukayo for me gets a 9. And it's just great to see him get better and better and better every single game, even though we're not talking about it because Emil Smith Rowe taking a lot of a lot of the conversation. Martinelli's taking a lot of the conversation. But we have a scary little player on our hands, and I'm loving it. Mr. Austin says, just what happened to Basmati Rice. I loved watching him be completely invisible. It was amazing. So tired of hearing about him. Tony says, Saka giving left back nightmares. Yes. And that's the second time that he's done that as well. Well, he did it a little bit against Southampton, but mostly against Newcastle. He did it as well. And so it's becoming more frequent, which is good. Let's see. All right. Talk football. HD said Saka is Arsenal boy, must be saved at any cost. Yes. I mean, at some point we're gonna have to renew his contract. And I'm like, give the boy what he wants. I mean, he's just so good. Dublin says, wow, Moy said the penalty decision was correct. Respect. Um, I thought it looked a little, it is what it is, but I thought we got the red card, but I would have preferred the penalty going in the back of the net. I mean, what the hell? Um, Nashville says, "No, what's really funny, I can't pick a favorite player on the team right now. It's been so easy to do for like a couple of years." I agree. Let's talk about Martinelli. He was so good. He was so good. He was so good. I mean, I love Emil Smith Rowe, and he also gets a lot of credit for today's game because that end product that's been coming has come at the right time. But the combination of Martinelli and Bukayo Saka, one on each side, I just feel like that balance is something that I can't get out of my mind. Like, I'm just thinking the last couple of games of seeing those two players play on either side of Lacazette for me has been the most balanced and the most dangerous that we've looked because Martinelli has an intensity that we just don't have in anybody else. He's a scary, scary player. And the goal that he scored was massive. He scores under pressure, and I like that. And he's just so like hard to play against. I mean, his what the one thing I will say, and like regardless to what you think about Mikel Arteta, I don't think anything that I've seen thus far has been detrimental to Martinelli's career because he's come into the team now. He looks ready to play. He's developed a lot in terms of what he's supposed to be doing defensively. He's not really chasing the ball anymore, like just chasing to just be chasing. And so being able to take advantage of his intensity in a way that doesn't just take away from the game and leave us exposed. So when I look at it, I just think to myself, is this not something that we need to look at and say that maybe Mikel Arteta got it right? Or is it he's been holding this back, from Martinelli all this time? I think this is the perfect time for Martinelli to arrive in this team when obviously we're not really sure what's going to happen with Aubameyang. But beyond that, if AFCON goes on, there's somebody there that's kind of ready to step in. The nutmeg was madness. I was like, look at this guy. Like, this is so good. And like his passing was crisp. He was not taking risks when he didn't need to. He's hard to knock off the ball. He was stealing the ball off of Declan Rice. I mean, he was so good. I mean, got the goal, was unplayable, but his intensity is scary. And it's just something that we don't have throughout our team. So for me, Martinelli, I don't know how you can give him anything other than a 10. I mean, I don't think that he scored the goal. He was he has to get a 10. I think Saka and Odegaard just missed it just barely because they didn't have the goal, which is not really their fault or anything. But when I look at Martinelli's performance, I can't wait to watch it again because I just think it was what I've been waiting to see, and so I love it. I love it. Martinelli for me gets a 10. I'm shameless. I think he can still get better, but this is somebody who hasn't really been in the team for a year. And look what we have going. But I want to ask you guys, do you think that the combination of Bukayo Saka and Martinelli on either side of Lacazette is more devastating and damaging to the opposition than Emil Smith Rowe on that left-hand side, because I just don't know how he comes out of the team unless he has a really, really bad game. I just don't see it, so let me know what you guys think. Mr. Austin says, Jess, in all seriousness, this game proves that they don't rate Aubameyang as captain. And it was a game, I looked at it. I was looking to see if they looked devastated that Aubameyang was not there or not captain, and they didn't. And they haven't the last couple of times that he's been dropped. So I feel like the team is developing and moving past Aubameyang at this point. So, I think that's a good thing that we don't rely upon him and they don't feel like he's so influential that they can't play a game without him. Let's see. The Onyx Lens says Gabby's nutmeg deserved a goal. That whole move would have been epic. Watched on loop for years. Yeah, exactly. It was like Martinelli nutmegged the guy, then passed it to one of the midfielders. The midfielders passed it to Saka, and then Saka burnt Mashuaku. It was just, it was so good, you guys. It was so good. I love watching them do good. I really do. So let's see. But yeah, so I don't know. I had questions around whether or not ESR should have played today or Martinelli, but I just ultimately thought Martinelli was the better option because he's done nothing to be dropped. And there's just something about his intensity off of the left-hand side that I just feel like we've been missing. And that doesn't mean that ESR has been playing bad. I just feel like I prefer Saka and Martinelli, but that's just me. So let's move on to Lacazette. Captain's performance should have had a goal. Missing the penalty was like, oh man, that would have been the icing on the cake. That would have been the icing on the cake. His performance was very, very good. And we know that Lacazette has this in him that on certain days he can be so, so beneficial to us and in a team that lacks leadership and experience. So he led the line really well. I don't think he ended up at right back like sometimes he does, all isolated off on the right-hand side. He went deep when he had to. He was pressing when he had to. He was in the box when he needed to be. And I just thought beyond, like, if he would have just got the penalty, he would have got a 10 for me. But he won the penalty as well. And he won us a couple of fouls in really good areas. I know that Lacazette cannot keep up this level of performance. He's just not, he's just, how he is. He'll have something like this and then go through a little bit of a dry spell. So it's unfortunate that he can't keep this up. In my mind, he can't. But damn, we needed that performance from him today. We really, really did. And captain's performance for me, just a shade under Martinelli, 9.5. I would give him because he really needed to get the penalty to get that. I thought had West Ham scored and we had if they would have scored in between ESR scoring his that goal and the penalty, I think we would have looked at him a little bit like, but yeah, I thought Lacazette was great. So he gets a 9.5. There's 231 of you guys watching. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's talk about some of the guys that came in. Who did come in? Was it just Eddie and ESR? Did we use the last sub? What happened? But what I will say is that I was getting ready to tweet that ESR had done absolutely nothing since he came in right before he scored the goal. And so I'm so glad that I was like typing it and not sending it at the time that he was scoring. And Nuno came in. So for me, I thought ESR was quiet when he came on, but I also thought it was a weird point in the game where we really didn't have, Moyes was making changes. So we were kind of like trying to deal with those changes. So we didn't have a lot of possession. But I thought that he did what was needed, which was come out there, and when you get the chance to score the goal, put it in the back of the net. And that's what he did. So I'm going to give ESR a 9. I do think that he was just a little bit on the periphery when he came in for Odegaard. And I was just about to tweet that he wasn't doing anything, but he scored the goal and that's what matters. And that really put the game out of reach from West Ham. So I can't complain. I think he gets a 9. Let's see. RYN says ESR is a finisher like for Odegaard. Badu says, can you bring Robbie on AFTV on your channel? I'm not sure if he'll answer my calls or answer any of my DMs or anything. I don't know him, but I'm small fry and I'm sure. I mean, I don't know if he charges, but if he does, I ain't got that. I ain't got it. Mr. Austin says Nuno came on just okay. Yeah, so Nuno came on. I think at that point when he came on, I was coming down here to set up for my stream, so I wasn't quite sure. But yeah, I'll make sure to get Souls on sometime this week to talk about the game. We're all just kind of like a little bit busy and stuff, and a little bit fatigued from just constantly streaming. So I'm taking the reins for now, and they'll definitely be back on some of the next streams. But yeah, ESR fine performance, and Ketia, I don't really think he did much. I have to say, when he came on, I was just like, wow, Pepe does not exist. Like, he literally does not exist. But I thought he was just okay. He had a pretty, like, if I could give him just like a non applicable, I would probably give him that. And Nuno as well. I don't really think they did much, but they didn't do anything to help or to hinder. So it just was what it was. I thought ESR was the most influential substitution, mostly because he came on earlier and because he scored the goal. So I'll just give Nuno and Ketia sixes because they weren't quite average, but they weren't really good either. So yeah. Let's see. So, but yeah. Great. So now Arteta. So before the game, I just felt like he needed to get a win because it was kind of like, well, if he doesn't, I knew that it was going to be, well, that's why he shouldn't have dropped a bombing. The team is all flustered and disrupted because of it. But I honestly didn't feel like that was going to happen because whether or not like Arteta stays or not, or whether or not he's the guy for the job, you feel how you want to feel about it. But most of these players were signed under Arteta or re-signed. And since they've been consistently playing under him, I haven't gotten the impression that they did not rate him or anything. I had some questions about the senior players, whether or not they were really buying in, but in terms of Ramsdale, Tommy, KT, Nuno Tavares, White, Gabriel, Odegaard, ESR, Saka, never got that impression. Even Xhaka, I know that Xhaka is just doing his thing. That they weren't going to back Arteta or just play because that's what they're supposed to be doing and not picking sides or whatever. So I thought Arteta needed that just to keep the media from just like keep spinning around like, oh, these disrupted. Oh my goodness. But I think that the decisions that he made today, obviously because he won the game, but because we were so dominant and it was our best performance, was absolutely spot on. And so what we need to see is something quite similar against Leeds away from home. We need to start seeing these level of performances away from home, and it's always going to be a little bit more difficult because playing away from home is hard. But the big teams or the good teams or the teams that are the best at the top of the league do well away from home, and so that's what we need to see moving forward. But on today's day, because when things don't go right, he's at fault. Today the players did it, but he also got the decision making right. There was questions on whether he should have just started the same team or he should have made changes. He started the exact same team. That team played very well, much better than the way that they played against Everton, much better than how they played against Southampton. They've gotten better over these last couple of games, and they all justified their selection. So he got it right. And so he lives to fight another day. He lives to squabble with another player, so it is what it is. But I think Arteta, I mean, can I give him a 10? Because I mean, it just is what it is, spot on, best performance of the season. This isn't a conversation whether he's our long-term manager or whether he'll survive to the end of the season. All we're talking about is today's game, and he got it spot on, nothing wrong, clean sheet. Subs were right, you know, and the team was playing for him. So I'm going to give Arteta a 10. Like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Let's see. Um, Nashville says this is the type of pressing game Arteta talked about wanting to play when he took the job. I guess my question, Nashville, is why hasn't it happened until now? I mean, the pressing was good because it was a combination of swarming, nicking the ball off of people, blocking passing lanes, pushing them into positions where they couldn't find Antonio, and just intensity. And I just wonder where that came from. Maybe it was a message to whoever that we're backing our manager and we're going to play really, really hard and all this kind of stuff. But I've never seen this level of intensity for a 90-minute spell from this team. So I'm just wondering where it came from and if this is how he wants to play, why it hasn't shown up. This is also our best attacking game. I think we were over 3 xg, which is really high. And I don't know if does the PK get added in there or not. But let's see. Our xg today was 2.91, and so for me, that's one of our best performances. Like we didn't like outperform our XG there. We left some on the table there. We left some of our dinner. So yeah, yeah, it was such a good game. Anthony Taylor, 0. No, I'm joking. He wasn't shocking, but he was like his normal dodgy. Um, but I've kind of liked him in the past because he's a lot of dodgy decisions have kind of went our way, a la the FA Cup final where he gave Kovacic a red card, and I was like, yes, like So Anthony Taylor is not always somebody that I cringe at because some of his bad decisions go our way. Like today, again, I'm not quite sure that I believe that that was a full on penalty. It's a penalty because I'm an Arsenal fan, and of course, I'm like, of course, it's a penalty. But from a neutral perspective, I can see why people didn't think it was. And I think there's a little bit of justice there because we missed the penalty, but ultimately getting the red card helped us a little bit. I think not as much as I was hoping. I was like, oh, they're dead, but they still kept playing and it was annoying. So yeah. The Onyx Lens says if we can get Party, Tierney, Martinelli to have good run of games with no injuries, I think we'd have a chance at top 4. Whoo! Let's knock on wood. I hope so. Like, I really want that. uh Nashville says, I don't know. We have only seen it in 15-minute clips. Exactly. Like I kind of want to know why we can't. I mean, maybe from here we can string together some performances that look similar to that on a regular basis, but we haven't really been able to see it. But what I will say is that I think this is closer to our best team. It's the back five that includes Kieran Tierney, which I think he's always been a part of our best back five, regardless of what Tavares has done. Whether you like it or not, Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka are our best pivot. Odegaard playing in the 10 role is best, not Lacazette. And Lacazette in between Saka and Martinelli slash ESR for me has been our best kind of lineup for a while. So seeing it click together just makes it more real, you know? Nashville says Abba was always a willing presser, but not always effective presser, and Gabby is a better presser than ESR. That is very true, and I think Aubameyang has worked hard at the beginning part of the season. I think when it got a little bit more difficult, he did fall off just a little bit. You could tell that, when maybe the shine of the beginning of the season kind of wore off and his form kind of dropped, the pressing started to wobble a little bit. And ESR kind of just gets in the vicinity and says, "Hey, I'm here, I'm doing my job." Where Gabby is like, "I'm trying to get the ball." And so I think that's ultimately why I think he needs to keep his spot. And again, competition for places is a good thing. If only we could get Granit Xhaka some real competition, yeah? Um, James says, "I love Gabriel. He's improving in confidence in that defense." Absolutely. Gabriel was so good today. But I'm coming to expect these performances from him, which is a good thing. Apula says, "So you'll have Aubameyang out permanently?" I have to be honest that I don't really there's I personally have felt like since last season, when we kind of reset things around December, I always kind of felt like our best performances or our most fluid attacking performances have come with Aubameyang not being in the team. And so, like, those would be the Spurs game, the North London Derby, the Chelsea match, where we beat them 3-1, West Brom, where we beat them 4-0, when we played against Sheffield and we beat them, I think, 2-1. Like, some of our better performances have come when he hasn't been there. And I just feel like because Lacazette really fits that role a little bit better, everything ticks a lot better. The issue has always been that Saka and Martinelli, well, Martinelli wasn't in a team, but Saka and ESR didn't have a lot of goals in them. And Odegaard kept getting injured. And Lacazette also wasn't always consistent. But beyond just being somebody that's on big wages and used to being our best striker, maybe is still our best striker in terms of in front of goal, I don't think Aubameyang has had much to really stand on in terms of why he's starting games for Arsenal for a while. And so beyond him, like, being up for it and committed to the pressing this season, I just always felt like maybe Lacazette would be better there and we could just play kind of how we did last season. But if I just don't know if he's gonna come back at this point. It's too early to tell. But if you told me that he didn't come back and he was gone in January, would I be upset? I can't say that I would be. But again, that's because I prefer this front four type of vibe that doesn't really include him. And that's not because he's not a good player, it's because he doesn't fit the system. And it's been that way for a while. And we've been trying to Jimmy rig him in, and it just hasn't clicked. It's been clunky and it just doesn't work. No, we should not extend Lacazette. We should get a better version of Lacazette, somebody that can come deep and be a part of buildup and presses and has the athleticism and the the youth to get into the box and also adds a physical presence up there. That's what we need. So extending him wouldn't help us. I think making sure that we move on from him and improve upon him is the most important thing. But he's our best option at the moment. Blaze, I did see what Arteta did to Martinelli, and I think that he really needs to be careful about pushing these players back onto the pitch because he did that against with Thomas Partey and he had some sort of hamstring issue. We don't know what happened with Martinelli. It may be some sort of like, muscle injury or whatever. And I just feel like I know he gets into the throes of the game and he gets a little bit intense, but can you not push the players back onto the pitch? Like, it's a bad look. And when players are injured, you have to ask. I know maybe he thought that Gabby was pretending, but like literally he went back down and had to come off. So I thought it was strange, and I just feel like he needs to stop doing that. It's just not a good look. Um, Dublin said it was just a cramp. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's not a good look. But I hear you. If it was just a cramp, then it is what it is. But yeah, for Martinelli, I think he wanted him to just lay down on the pitch. Yeah, I mean, but it just didn't seem like that. It seemed like get back on, and he didn't necessarily just like roll him back onto the pitch. He was like, get up and go, So I don't know. I have to rewatch it, but I didn't think it looked great. But again, we won the game, so we're not talking about it as much, are we? Um, but yeah, Nashville says, if I was Laka, I would not take a 1-year extension though. Play well this year and get one last long-term deal somewhere else. Exactly, and that's what I'm hoping that he does. I just don't think we need to hold on to him anymore. Um, yeah. So, um, no, I hear what you guys are saying. That he wanted to push him back onto the pitch so he could lay down there. Just I get what you're saying. To me, it looked like just get back on, and I just think you have to be a little bit careful about doing that. But yeah, I hear what you guys are saying, and maybe I am wrong. So I will say that yeah, I'll look at it again. But it was like, oof. Um, yeah, but let's go ahead and end it there because I can't even lie to you guys. I need a nap. That game really stressed me out, and I'm glad that we won. We're in the top four for now, and we move on to the Leeds game this weekend. So make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, get in that comment section. Let me know if you disagree with anything, um, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the post match show. And I'll make sure to get one of the guys on so that you can get their perspective on the game as well. But tomorrow. See you then. Enjoy your night. Bye, guys.